America's outboard engine market is falling apart, and if you own a boat, if you're thinking about buying one, or if you simply don't want to get stranded miles offshore, this might be the most important video you watch all year. Because this collapse isn't happening in slow motion anymore, it's happening right now. Engines are failing earlier, parts are getting harder to find, warranty support is shrinking, and some brands people trusted for decades, are one bad sales year away from disappearing completely. Today, we are revealing 6 outboard brands that may not make it to 2026. Not rumors, not guesses. Real warning signs every boater needs to know. If your engine is on this list, it could mean skyrocketing repair costs, no parts availability, zero resale value, or an engine that becomes unserviceable overnight. And even if your brand isn't on the list, you'll know exactly what mistakes to avoid before you spend thousands on the wrong motor. If you care about your money, your boat, or your safety, don't look away. Here are 7 brands at elevated risk of vanishing, going bankrupt, exiting the US outboard business, or being swallowed up by competitors by 2026. Each has a unique vulnerability and legacy weight, which make their potential fall even more dramatic. 1. Evinrude. Evinrude's story begins in 1907, when inventor Ole Evinrude created one of the first practical outboard motors. For over a century, the brand was synonymous with power and innovation in recreational boating. But by May 27, 2020, its parent company, Bombardier Recreational Products (BRP), announced it would immediately discontinue production of all Evinrude ETEC and ETEC G2 outboards. The reasons were manifold. Evinrude stuck with a 2-stroke philosophy in an industry that was rapidly moving toward 4-stroke engines, racing emissions, regulation, and changing consumer preferences. The company also struggled with early reliability issues in its G2 platform, which damaged dealer trust and customer loyalty. On top of that, the COVID-19 pandemic accelerated a downturn in demand and disrupted supply chains, and BRP chose to refocus on its boat-building business rather than salvage the engine line. While BRP pledged to continue support for parts and warranty coverage, the cessation of manufacturing meant that no new Evinrude engines would be produced. In effect, a once legendary brand became functionally dormant. With no new production dealer networks thinning and consumer sentiment shifting, many experts regard Evinrude as a brand that could vanish entirely by 2026. Not merely as a legacy name, but as an engine manufacturer with no future direction. 2. Johnson. Johnson outboards were once a dominant force in the marine engine world. Founded in the early 1920s via the Johnson Brothers Motor Company, the brand rose to prominence by pioneering lightweight aluminum outboard motors and powerboat racing success. At its peak, Johnson was synonymous with innovation, reliability, and performance. But the tides began to turn. After the collapse of parent company Outboard Marine Corporation, OMC, in 2000, Johnson was also acquired by BRP in 2001. BRP initially continued Johnson production, but focus shifted to the sister brand Evinrude and its newer technology. By 2007, the Johnson brand was effectively discontinued, with BRP officially phasing out manufacturing of new Johnson-branded outboards. Why did such a storied name fade? Several factors collided. Johnson had relied heavily on older 2-stroke tech and struggled to compete when the market shifted to 4-stroke engines and more stringent emissions regulations. Disruption and dealer support thinned as BRP redirected investment. Consumer perceptions shifted. Ultimately, even this major player couldn't adapt fast enough. Today, Johnson outboards no longer appear in new engine lineups. The brand lives only in legacy inventory, parts support, and the used market community. Its demise is a powerful reminder. In this industry, even a once dominant mid-tier brand can vanish if relevance is lost. 3. Seven Marine. Seven Marine was born in 2010 in Germantown, Wisconsin, with a bold mission: create the most powerful outboard engines the world had ever seen. Their flagship model, the 557 HP unit unveiled in 2011, used a supercharged GM 6.2-liter V8 and revolutionized perceptions of what an outboard engine could be. As the brand grew, they introduced even higher power models, including 627 HP versions, designed to run on massive center consoles in larger boats. In 2017, luxury and performance engine maker Volvo Penta took a majority stake in Seven Marine, signaling serious mainstream backing. But the story takes a turn. Despite cutting-edge engineering, ultra-high torque, and bespoke design, Seven Marine's niche positioning made it vulnerable. Production was low volume, estimates around 200 units per year, and each unit carried a price tag above $100,000. Meanwhile, the marine propulsion market was shifting toward greater efficiency, emissions regulation, electric hybrid technologies, and broader-based outboard applications. In late 2020 and early 2021, Volvo Penta announced that Seven Marine's gasoline V8 outboard line would be phased out, and no new units would be produced beyond existing demand. What happened to Seven Marine reflects a critical lesson. Innovation and power are not enough in an evolving market. A brand that excels in performance but serves a tiny segment can find itself exposed when the surrounding ecosystem changes quickly. With production shut and market relevance hard to maintain, Seven Marine isn't just at risk, it's already moving toward the could vanish entirely zone. 4. Force. Force Outboards is a smaller, lesser-known brand in the recreational marine world, and its story illustrates how fragile mid-tier engine manufacturers can be. Originally designed as a budget-friendly alternative for boaters seeking dependable performance without a premium price, Force engines gained modest traction in freshwater lakes and smaller coastal markets. However, in an industry dominated by giants like Mercury, Yamaha, and Suzuki, smaller brands face structural disadvantages from the start. Limited dealer networks mean that Force owners often struggle to find local service and parts, creating friction that larger competitors don't experience. Production runs are smaller, so economies of scale are weaker. Each engine costs more to manufacture relative to the volume sold, reducing flexibility in pricing or absorbing market shocks. Now, with the U.S. outboard market contracting in 2025, unit sales declining year over year and consumer buying cycles stretching, small brands like Force are squeezed first. They have less room to invest in innovation, marketing, or dealer support. Any misstep in reliability or supply can severely impact reputation. In a shrinking market dominated by major players, Force is not just challenged, it's at real risk of vanishing entirely by 2026, illustrating how small size can be fatal in a competitive, high-stakes industry. 5. Lear. Lear Outboards has positioned itself as a pioneer in all-electric marine propulsion, targeting eco-conscious boaters with quiet, zero-emission engines. Launched in the 2010s, Lear quickly gained attention for lightweight electric outboards that promised reduced noise, no fuel spills, and a cleaner boating experience. But despite innovation, the company faces significant challenges. Electric outboards are still a niche market, and adoption rates remain low compared to traditional gasoline engines. Battery costs are high, charging infrastructure is limited, and consumers are hesitant to invest in technology with an uncertain resale value. Production capacity is small, meaning Lear can't compete on volume or pricing with established players, and dealer networks are minimal. In a contracting U.S. market, and with the broader boating economy showing signs of stress in 2025, Lear's survival depends on rapid adoption of electric propulsion, a risky bet. Without sufficient market traction, the brand could struggle to stay afloat, making it a potential casualty by 2026. 6. Pure Watercraft. Founded in 2011 in Seattle by former rowing coach Andy Riebel, Pure Watercraft set out with a bold mission: to replace gas-powered outboards with full electric systems that were quieter, cleaner, and simpler to own. Early on, the company developed the pure outboard motor and lithium battery system, designed as a drop-pin replacement for the 25 to 50 HP class of gas outboards. Their technology caught major backing. In 2021, global automaker General Motors acquired a 25% stake in Pure Watercraft, valuing the company around $600 million at the time. The partnership promised to combine Pure's marine propulsion innovation with GM's supply chain and manufacturing muscle, aiming to accelerate electric boating. Product-wise, Pure rolled out full electric boat packages, pontoon boats, fishing boats, and rigid inflatables, with pricing reaching tens of thousands of dollars. For example, their electric pontoon started around $45,000 to $60,000, with later price hikes to $75,000 plus. Their systems offered compelling benefits: near silent operation, no fuel or oil changes, and highly efficient battery packs reportedly equivalent in energy density to a Tesla Model 3 battery. Yet, despite these strengths, the challenges were heavy. The electric outboard category remains niche. Boaters still favor tried and true gasoline engines, and infrastructure for charging and service is thin. Pure's cost structure was high, volume low, and the transition to electric in the marine space slower than hoped. To make matters worse, by 2024, the company entered receivership and reports surfaced of asset liquidation and sale of its IP. In short, Pure Watercraft is a textbook example of innovation meeting market reality. Their technology and brand promise were ahead of their time, but real-world economics, consumer behavior, service network challenges, and the larger contraction in the outboard market mean that survival is far from assured. So what ties all these at-risk outboard brands together? At the core, its dependence on a contracting U.S. recreational boating market. Fewer new boats are being sold, older owners are holding on to engines longer, and new buyers are either delaying purchases or eyeing electric and hybrid options. Combine that with intense pressure on cost and technology, and you see the problem. Small and mid-tier companies struggle to fund R&D, meet certification requirements, and maintain reliable supply chains. Add to that dealer and parts support risk. Without strong networks, customers naturally migrate to safer, more established brands. And with the industry increasingly dominated by a handful of major players, survival becomes nearly impossible for smaller names. For boat owners and buyers, this isn't just industry chatter, it's real-world risk. When repowering or buying used, ask yourself, will this brand still provide parts, warranty, and support 5 or 10 years from now? Could your engine become orphaned, unsupported, and expensive to maintain? Keep an eye on electrification and hybrid trends. Brands clinging to legacy technology may be left behind. Why 2026 specifically? Strategic decisions made now, dealer orders, production planning, and adoption of electric power will determine who survives. The next year or two will reveal the winners and the casualties. For boaters, the question isn't someday, it's who will still be around when you need them most. Which brand do you think will disappear first? Share your thoughts, and don't forget to subscribe.